Hello and welcome to the WIPdown. This is a special segment of the Stress Knits podcast brought to you by my lovely patrons over on Patreon. If you're interested in becoming a patron, please click the link below and all of the information will be there for you. I couldn't do this without them, and they make segments like this possible. So thank you to everyone who supports me over there. My name is Stacy, also known as Stress Knits Yarn on Instagram and Stress Knits on Ravelry. I'm the dyer behind Stress Knits Yarn and the host of the Stress Knits podcast. I am coming to you from Metro Detroit, Michigan, where I live with my husband Doug, daughter Eliza, and pug Esther. So the WIPdown is a special segment of the Stress Knits podcast where I talk to you about my favorite work in progress, also known as a WIP. And I'm talking to you about it in more detail than I give over on the podcast because I have more time to do so. It's also a nice resource. There's a playlist of all of the ones that I have done. So if you are looking to create or make the project yourself, you have my thoughts and my notes on that knitting project and that pattern and what yarn I've used and all of that. So hopefully this is helpful, and hopefully this video makes more people want to knit this pattern because I think this is my favorite thing I've ever made. This is definitely going to be something that I wear all the time. I've already tried it on and it fits like exactly how I want it to fit. I almost said like a glove, but it's a very positive ease sweater. So what I'm talking about is Woodwardia by Lydia Gluck. It is found in Pom Pom Quarterly, the botanical issue, which is from spring 2019. It is issue number 28. And the sweater I'm talking about is this cover sweater. So let's talk about the specifics of the sweater first before I show you mine. So the finished bust circumference goes from a 40¼ inch up to a 58½ inch bust. Now, this is not the greatest sizing, but keep in mind that this is in a magazine, and I feel like all print patterns, they don't go as high as they should because there's not enough space for extra sizes, which is kind of a garbage reason. But I just want to put that out there because it is supposed to have 8 to 12 inches of positive ease. So if you go by that standard, like probably the highest it would go is about a 50 inch. So it's not the worst out there, but it's definitely not the best. So I just want to put that out there for anyone who wants to make this. Now I am knitting the size 54¼ which will give me about 10 inches of positive ease. It'll probably turn out closer to a 52-inch bust because my gauge swatch was not dead on. I forgot to bring my gauge swatch over. It's actually in that bucket, not that one over there, and I don't feel like getting up and getting it. So yeah. Let's talk more about this. So it calls for a worsted weight yarn with a gauge of 18 stitches and 28 rows over 4 inches of stockinette stitch worked in the round. So I got 17½ stitches for 28 rows over 4 inches. So I'm very close, but that is why my sweater will probably be a little bit smaller than the 54-inch, but my yarn blocks pretty well, especially when it's a full heavy sweater and not just a little swatch. So I'm assuming I might get the 54 inches out of it, which would be really, really great. Now this is a very basic sweater. It's a raglan. That's that's it. I'm not going to show this too much, but here is the faux seam detail, which is really nice. That runs down the side and all the way up the arm. Here is the schematic. So this is what the sweater will look like when I lay it out to block, but I am making some changes. So the first change that I'm making is I am not doing the turtleneck. I don't like turtlenecks. I don't like the way that they feel if something hits a little high on the neck. This is about as high as I like it. This is a nice crew neck, and this is kind of what I'm going for this sweater. So my plan, I've never done this before, so I'm looking into it a little bit. Seeing if I want to do it, I might swatch it and try it that way, because I've never done it this way. So my intention is to pick this all up and knit a fold over collar. So I'll knit, I think a 2-inch collar is really nice, so I'll knit 4 inches, and when I'm binding off, I will fold it in and tack it on the inside as I'm binding off, I think. If not, I will just do the 2 inches, but I also don't like the way a bind off looks on a collar, so I really think the folded over will give me a nice finished, polished look that I'm going for. So yeah, this one calls for 6 inches, and then you fold it over. Let's see, let me read. Yeah, you knit it for 6 inches, so maybe I will only do 3 inches and do 1.5 inches, so that's a much smaller neck, because it's too bulky for me. I don't like turtlenecks. And the other modification that I'm making is I'm knitting the body much longer. I don't know why I keep closing this page, but in the schematic, the body, because I think I know it off the top of my head, but I don't want to say something if it's not true. So the length is 8 3/4 inches, and that is including the ribbing at the hem. So that's short. That's short. Not what I really like. I prefer something closer to 14 inches. So I'm at about 10 inches past the armhole separation right now, 9.5, 10 inches. I'm going to knit probably about another inch or 2, and then I will separate the front and the back for the split hem and knit my hem. So that way it'll block out to be about 13, 14 inches long. This is going to be an oversized sweater, like I said, with about 8 to 10 inches of positive ease for what size I am knitting for my bust. And I really want this to be something cozy I can wear with leggings and not look super sloppy or show too much. And then this will also be something that I will tuck into a pair of skinny jeans. It's just something I'm going to wear all of the time. It's very much my style. It's going to be like a sweatshirt sweater. The arms are also very oversized until you get down to about here, which will be really nice, and I'm going to do full length sleeves. Yeah, so this is, so this is my Woodwardia. Let's talk about yarn. So it did call for a worsted weight, but I'm using a DK, which I got almost spot on gauge, and it was enough to where I thought it would work. And I've tried this on and it fits exactly like I want it to, and if it blocks out a little bit bigger, that would be great, but if it stays exactly the same, it would also be really good. So I'm really excited about that. The color that I'm using is super special. I've touched on this in blog posts in the past, and I believe I've talked about this on the podcast before. Take a sip of coffee. But when I was going through my miscarriage and everything that happened after, there was a day when I just wanted to create something new. and I created 3 colors that are regulars in my shop. I created Birch, which is a black and white speckle. I created Pillow Mint, which is a blue-green mint. And I created this color, which is my jam, which is a peachy pink. And this color, it was the first time I created a pink that I really, really loved. And I felt like it was me. And I felt like I wasn't trying to be another dyer. And I was just, it was perfectly Stacy. So this colorway has been a part of some really special knits, including my What the Fade by Andrea Mowry, which is my most worn knit. And I think this will rival it. But I wanted something specifically in the My Jam colorway that was a garment that I could kind of just have to cozy up in and remember that time in my life, and also just create something positive from something so negative. And this, once I saw this sweater, I knew that that's what it had to be. So I've had this yarn dyed for probably a good 3 months while I've been waiting to cast it on. And once I cast it on, it was the only thing I want to knit on, and it still is. I've been alternating skeins, and I love the way that it's coming out. There's so much depth in this color. There are quite a few layers in it, and I just love it. And the way that the dye breaks when I'm doing my dye stock, sometimes there will be little shots of hot pink, which I really love. It's like this little spot right here. So I don't know, this sweater is just incredibly special that way. So like I said, it is my DK base in the My Jam colorway. Now, my favorite part of this sweater is this raglan fern detail, and it is just the most beautiful, simple detail along a raglan increase. I love a raglan increase detail. It's just so smart and so beautiful, and it takes the sweater to the next level in my opinion. And it's not something so crazy that I'm not going to wear it every day because it feels extravagant. Like, it's not baubles, it's not color work, it's just this beautiful texture that creates this little fern detail. I don't know, I just really love it. And then along each side and down the sleeves, there is a faux seam, which is also super easy. So that also exists, which I really love. This sweater is incredibly intuitive. The pattern is written really well. I've had no issues with it at all. It's just a great sweater, and I think more people should knit one. It is just such a good go-to. If you don't like the turtleneck, leave the turtleneck off. If you want it cropped, keep it cropped. If you want to lengthen it, just buy more yarn. It's okay. It's the easiest modification to make, to just make it longer. So yes, I just love this sweater so much, and I cannot wait to finish it. And I'm almost a little sad that I'm doing the WIPdown episode on it, because I've wanted to talk about the sweater for so long, and now I have. So yeah, I cannot wait to show you this as a finished object, and I hopefully will have that soon. So yeah, so that is Woodwardia by Lydia Gluck. Bye.